welcome to Sky's Retail Media Thursdays. I'm super excited to introduce Josh Kreitzer, who is CEO and founder of Channel Bakers Agency. Welcome, Josh. So excited that you could take the time out of this busy CES to come sit down with us. As a founder and CEO of Channel Bakers, why don't you tell us a little bit about just kind of your history, background, a little bit about Channel Bakers?
Yeah, well played with the consumer electronics theme and vibe. This is CES. My background is consumer electronics largely. Started my career at a company called Ingram Micro, one of the world's largest distributors for consumer electronics. Moved on to work for a company called Buy.com that ultimately Rakuten eventually acquired. And then moved on to working for the manufacturer brand community, again, consumer electronics, for like an NVIDIA board partner called XFX, Corsair Gaming, GoPro, and the rest. And I was always the internet guy that had to manage like all these internet retailers that were popping up, and like, how do we get everybody to play nice in the same sandbox? Brick and mortar, internet retail, and e-commerce D2C sites as well. Like everybody was just kind of like, this is all new. And again, I know it dates me a little bit, but back then that was all very new and it's a very relevant conversation.
Of course, yeah.
From there, then I went on to work for a MarTech ad tech company, and had a lot of fun there. But while I was at GoPro right before that, I got a chance to beta test what we all now know as Amazon sponsored ads. And just all the fireworks in my head were going off. I was like, this is gonna be great. Amazon's going toe to toe with the Googles of the world in the search landscape. Finally, a retailer is like truly monetizing their search in a way that's an open bid landscape. There was no relevancy guardrails back then too, by the way. It was like the wild, wild west. You could do a number of really fun things. Yeah, now flash forward, we're about $250 million a year in spend. And then our employee base, roughly around 200 employees, again, all around the globe. And that's been kind of a fun, crazy, it's been a journey.
So Josh, as you know, retail media is moving increasingly more upper funnel. Mm-hmm. How are you approaching this from a strategic standpoint from your agency?
A number of fun things. I think, yes, certainly Amazon was the pioneer of bridging the gap between upper funnel and bottom of funnel. I think that's an obvious no-brainer. But it's been really neat to see that now brands who usually wouldn't be able to afford upper funnel tactics or strategies can now actually begin to do that. Then the other aspect of it all is, even with the advent of QR codes in a streaming TV ad, like making it now shoppable media, and tying it down to like an actual sales outcome, that is the other aspect that now makes streaming TV or anything really upper funnel something that can be added to a playbook for even a brand that doesn't have a, let's just say, a $3 million 30-second football Super Bowl budget, right? They've got not that. They're a D2C startup, or maybe they're VC backed, right? Now they can actually do really amazing upper funnel tactics beyond just social media.
No, it's truly incredible. That's actually a really great point. The fact that, you know, things that you could only do on linear TV, do such a small subset.
Yeah.
But now everyone can have access, Prime TV, what Amazon's promoting out there, and just be able to connect with them through storytelling and uniqueness.
Yeah, I'll tie off with this. Retail media also allows for us to actually do much better targeting for upper funnel tactics as well. So our spend isn't being shotgunned across every DMA out there, right? Like now it's very laser focused and strategic and smart without being too creepy, right?
And measurable.
And the measurability is the coolest part.
So I think with the continued growth of retail media and commerce in general, the number one thing that folks are focusing on here is standardization, right? Everyone is looking at every metric so differently that we really need to come together on this. And it's really nice to see these retailers and just companies all coming and working with the IAB to make sure that they're going to be able to put this forward. So what are you thinking about? Like, how do you see standardization happening? What's your thoughts around it?
There's a lot of business questions that, we always ask, and maybe we had to use third-party research firms to do surveys. Like now, just even based on the way that you build campaigns for any given retail media platform could actually give you a lot of powerful insights that, quite frankly, really go beyond what everybody views retail media's number one metric being, meaning ROAS. Like return on spend is not the standardized platform and or metric. Like everybody's saying that, everybody's marching to that drum, but there's so much more in the landscape of retail media that can be unlocked, things like lifetime value, right? Cost per acquisition is something now in the landscape of retail media, a metric that people are starting to talk about a lot more versus what's the return on spend to a unit sold.
Yeah.
Like in the endemic landscape, that's still a very relevant conversation, but we need to standardize beyond that, right? And I think there are those like more deep questions like lifetime value that could be standardized. And if every retailer and retail media network partner and or ad tech platform actually got on board with, then yeah, the value that we're driving with retail media also gets like put on display and a big bright spotlight on it beyond return on spend.
Absolutely, like even new to brand, right? So in
100%.
having some discussions, some folks say it's like 6 months, some people say it's a year. It needs to be standardized, right? And to your point, to get to that panacea of stitching it all together effectively, so you actually know where you should be spending your dollars.
Yeah, the other aspect of that too, I mean, I could geek out on this all day, is the average selling price, right? Like if it's an average selling price or the repurchase cycle for a television is every 4 years, then new to brand being 6 months is irrelevant, right? So that standardization down to that level of like price point, again, endemic, is an area where there could be a lot of exploration. A lot of folks could actually just get on board together and go, okay, like this is how we look at these metrics. And by the way, every retailer has these metrics, so it's not something you really need to hold close to vest, okay? Like we can be doing a lot more.
Share, right?
Yeah, share a little bit more,
share.
right? And yeah, I think this is gonna be just a fun landscape. I'm definitely excited about standardization as well as in the non-endemic landscape, right? So there's plenty to discuss there. Maybe that'll be another Thursday.
Yes, absolutely.
And we'll have fun with that one then.
So Josh, in this dynamic landscape of agencies looking to either build their own technology, partner directly with some of these publisher partners, retailers, et cetera, what's your stance on kind of building your own technology or partnering?
Yeah, this is a fun question because I spent a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of tears building out my own platform. And really for me, that platform was centered around data visualization, right? There's efficiencies when you, in a new landscape, retail media was all new at that time. And again, to the question we answered a little while ago about standardization, there was no standardization. Some of these, ad tech platforms didn't even have date range slicers in them to be able to give your client a week over week, month over month. So I tried to go down that path. The good news is that a lot of the retail media platforms and ad tech platforms started to come out with APIs, and then they had an API first mentality, and that was really cool because before we were having to download spreadsheets, upload them to FTP and all the things. But that also then overwhelmed me and a number of my competitors who also had to sunset their platforms. We went from 5 APIs to one of the retail media network partners now has 162 APIs, right? So scaling behind that and growing, right? That's just one, right? So that landscape of trying to keep up with the new data and being ingested, as well as monetizing your platform to be able to store all of that data was also the other big challenge that I wouldn't say that I wouldn't do it again. I think one of the key lessons I learned was I probably need to get funding and or find a partner that already has a lot of API piping so that I could continue to do what I was aiming to do, which was just provide like really good efficiencies around not using Excel anymore, right? Like that was really what we wanted to be able to provide our clients was 24/7 client-side access, look at your data, here's what's happening with your campaigns and all the rest. At that time, I wasn't even thinking about automation, right? How great would it have been if I didn't spend all that money and have to sunset and I could have partnered with you guys and together we could have developed data visualization that is relevant and meaningful to the client to keep them spending and growing their business. That would have been amazing.
So Josh, when thinking about partnerships, I know we both value them dearly, right? We have decades of relationships, some very similar ones in the space. When you think about a software provider and when evaluating that type of partnership, what are the top 3 criteria prioritizations that you're looking for?
Right out of the gate, what value does this bring to my client, right? As an agency, we are always trying to find real solutions that we can bring to our clients as opposed to a lot of fluff that exists out there, right? The other is what kind of value can it bring my team and I? Whether it's an efficiency, whether it's a really amazing automation or custom automation, right? That is the other aspect of it is like there's the client value and then there's my team value. Looking out beyond that, it's how long have they been around, right? Does their tech work? And that's really important. We've heard of nightmares from some of our clients that went down a tech journey that didn't pan out so well, right? I look for the longevity of that partner, as well as, and this is just a personal pet peeve, like, does that tech partner compete with me in any way? And if they don't, all right, last box check, we could be friends, right? And that's what I really do value is, if we are going to be partners, let's be partners. Let's not say that we're partners and then compete against each other in the background. And that's, again, another very important reason why I chose Sky was you're not out there trying to compete with me, maybe even in a different country, right? There are tool providers and tech platforms and all these things that have this services arm that ultimately at the end of the day is just trying to replace the agency partner that's funding their growth. And I can't stand that.
No. So Josh, as we're seeing the trend, not only move kind of beyond multiple retailers within commerce, but now we're seeing it more of like an integrated layer across multiple channels.
Yeah.
How are you seeing that progress in 2024? How's your agency thinking about like moving beyond even retail media?
Yeah, I like to look at this mindset of a best-in-class retail media mix, but retail media mix doesn't necessarily mean retail media platforms only, right? So leveraging social to drive retailer outcomes is one aspect of it. On the flip side of that, the other thing that has been really a big eye-opener for me this week was connecting with the Walmarts of the world and even Albertsons, Best Buy and the rest, thinking about leveraging their shopper behavior data for the non-manufacturer, the non-endemic was something that I wasn't sure anybody else was thinking about other than Amazon, but quite frankly, everybody's thinking about that as well from a scale of spend and growth for retail media networks. I think there's a lot of growth opportunity there. But then if we dial it back to, but aren't we also trying to drive retail outcomes for manufacturer brands? Yeah, there's an element to that where like now social and Google and the rest, traditional search let's call it, has been a tactic that some agencies use and some brands like, but that integrated strategy is really something that we tried to bring to a client. And really be able to come back to them and go, okay, now all of this, by the way, we can execute, we can also manage, we can automate through Sky. And that's one of my big winning narratives right now is like, we're winning a lot more omni-channel opportunities for not just retail media because of our tactics that we can execute through Sky at every single one of our varying different channels, whether they be retailer channels or whether they be advertising channels. That's one of the key reasons why I chose Sky.
All right, well, here's the fun part. I'm gonna ask you 3 questions.
Okay.
Off the cuff.
Fun. Oh, should I be nervous?
No, it's all good, but here, 3 things. 1,
okay.
What do people not know about you that they can't find on LinkedIn? What would you like them to know? Unique to Josh.
1, I am passionate about people. I think that people and culture is definitely like a very important element that we oftentimes lose in the business landscape. I try to show my heart on my sleeve out there on LinkedIn and what have you, but if you get to know me on a one-on-one basis, you'll know that I genuinely care about you, the individual, not necessarily the company you work for today. That would be the one thing that isn't plastered on my LinkedIn, but I hope that people really get to know about me when we start to form a proper relationship beyond Zoom or LinkedIn.
Yes, and you're a Sky family, by the way, just so you know. All right, so 2, since we're here in Vegas, do you like to gamble or go see shows?
Oh, I am definitely the guy hanging out at the craps table because you could dip $100 in. I could spend $100 on a ticket to a show, or I can spend it at craps and make all kinds of new friends. And then, by the way, I don't know, I just have really good luck, and I guess that's what it is in the gambling landscape with craps. I'm already up $350 this year at CES at the craps table for a half hour.
Wow.
Right? I can go to a show and let somebody entertain me, or I can actively engage in entertainment at a craps table and make new friends.
Very nice. I like that. So last question, Josh. If you could be an animal, spirit animal, or whatever type of animal, what would you be?
I think people describe me as a hummingbird. I do everything fast. I go from here and I talk fast and I get things done fast, and then I move over here really quickly, and then I do it all over again, and then I move back down here, and like, that's just my general energy is I'm trying to always move quickly. I don't do slow. So people have described me as hummingbird. I'm mostly only 5'7", so small animal that moves quickly. Let's go with that. Yeah, highly efficient. I like that.
All right.
Hummingbird.
And passionate.
And passionate.
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time. I hope you enjoy the rest of the time here at CES.
Yeah.
And thank you for your partnership.
Well,
Really
thanks for
appreciate
having me.
it.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, let's do a high five.
High five. Done.